I'm Chef Dennis Arvizu here with Food as Medicine, where medicine meets the menu. Today, wanted to take a few minutes to one, thank our subscribers and viewers that have joined us in these last 3 months of our podcast with Dr. Victor Wing and I. You know, we started this podcast right as I was going to take my first, well, hopefully my only back surgery, and it's for those that haven't been with us from the beginning. Kind of going back to roughly 6 months ago, I had a neck surgery where I had a double disc replacement, and then 3 months later, in September, I had my lower two disc fused. So I just had fusion surgery back in September. And it's right when we decided to start this podcast. And over the last 3 months, I've been honing down on sticking to a plant based diet. And it was one of the regimens that we wanted to track and measure ourselves on its benefits. And I know over the past couple of weeks, I've gotten a few questions and combined about plant-based eating. And I just had my 3 month post-op with my surgeon, and things are going great. Things are beginning to heal. And, I can't really complain. All of the pain and issues that I had prior to surgery have been diminished and couldn't be happier. At the same time, definitely have been changing my diet on many things and many perspectives. And through the research that we've been conducting over the last couple months, I wanted to share a little bit more about my journey with plant-based eating and, you know, kind of answer some of those lingering questions that have come to us about why should we look at food as medicine. So I think the biggest question that comes up, throughout the last couple months is why eat plant-based? And I get it. There's a lot of hype around plant-based eating, that it's great for you, that it's not great for you. You guys may have seen a lot of documentaries. I know Netflix have had some, and you just can find different information all over the place. And, some of it is just very confusing. And I get it. I've had to filter my way through a lot of information and really look for credible sources. And so everything that I research comes from peer-reviewed academic journals. I figure it's the best way that I can translate the information to you, the listener, and as well, it's a great way for me to be able to communicate with Dr. Wang and him with myself. So I think what I wanted to do just in this simple Q&A is, talk a little bit about more of what it is to eat plant-based and empower you to see if this lifestyle is for you. And I know some topic is Dr. Wang still on this podcast? And yes, he is. He's been handling his the passing of his father, and so wanted him to take the time he needs to address his family affairs. But he shall be back soon, and where we can continue on some of the more pressing medical issues that some of you have, requested. So today, really just wanted to focus on, the movement of plant-based eating. So, really, is it just a trend? Does it really help your health? Um, so essentially, we'll just start with the obvious question is, why should you go plant-based? And, what I tell people or anyone who asks me, uh, food is, there's a lot more to food than just to eat, right? It's more than just sustenance to me. It's a way to bring people together. It's a way to create a culture, but it's also a way to make you feel better. And by that, there's a couple things to that. You know, eating plants that are rich in nutrients, which is what our body needs. It promotes overall health. It builds up your immunity, and for me, it's been a way for me to, I feel, heal a lot faster, especially during these last 3 months of surgery. Within 4 weeks post surgery, I was able to really begin to walk almost as if I hadn't had surgery. And going through my physical therapy, it's every day pushing it a little bit more to get stronger and healthier and faster. And I do believe eating, a plant-based regimen has definitely helped in the recovery process. When we look at the research, plant-based foods have been linked to, reducing the risk of heart disease, decreasing or reversing type 2 diabetes. And I think the big one for me has been about reducing inflammation and chronic pain. You know, Inflammation, as we talked about in a previous episode, is naturally occurring in our body. However, when you have too much of it is when things don't feel right. And so I think the first thing is just by having uh, simple plants in your food is not only great for you, but it's also a good way to just give back uh, to, how would I say, your local community, especially if you're able to support your local farmers at farmers markets. So here's the next one that tends to be a big question that comes to me is there a difference, or what is the difference between plant-based eating and vegan or vegetarian? And many times, actually, when I say I've been on more of a plant-centric diet, everybody goes to vegan. You've become vegan, and to make things clear, no, I have not become vegan. And nor do I intend to. However, it doesn't mean that I don't respect individuals that have chosen those dietary preferences. And as well as I love a vegan meal when done right, right? I think it's plant-based is not just another word for vegan, right? Vegan is a plant-based diet, but it's strictly on plants. If you're vegan, you have chosen to not consume any product that comes from an animal. That goes down to even honey. So a plant-based diet is a diet that's rich on eating whole ingredients that are minimally, if or not processed at all. We're talking about fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, uh, reducing uh, our animal protein consumption. And more so, where if you just want to break it down into a meal, I like to say about 60% of your meal is between whole foods in terms of vegetables, grains, and 40% on animal protein, or even less, right? And for a vegan meal, or for those that choose to be vegan, it goes into being really, I almost want to say, a lifestyle, because your dietary preferences of not utilizing any type of animal product, my general consensus has been that it carries into the type of products you use. Right? You look at fashion that is not made by any type of animal, or as well as cosmetics. So everything really is focused on ingredients that come from nature or the ground, and it's a lifestyle. And I think, like I mentioned, I respect that lifestyle. And so the way I guess I look at trying to explain a plant-based diet is, one, becoming a little bit more literate with what ingredients are, what food is, and giving you that choice, giving you that information, awareness, and that power goes back to yourself of choosing what to have and what not to have. And when I look at it from being vegan, or let's just say even vegetarian, it's choosing what not to have, what to avoid. All right. So if you're vegan, you're avoiding anything that remotely comes to an animal. If you're vegetarian, you're avoiding all types of meat, but you're, for the most part, still consuming cheese, dairy, eggs, right? So I look at it as, for being plant-based, yes, you are consuming more plants and whole grains than you are consuming meat, but it's a choice. It's, you pick your battles, what's better for you. I think I've mentioned it before that a diet that's, let's just say, great for me may not be great for you, because everybody has different needs when it comes to health, right? And if you're diabetic, for example, you're definitely going to avoid sugary vegetables like carrots, for example. Right? You're going to limit your intake on fruit because you don't want to spike that insulin. So another question that comes up is a plant-based diet really healthy? And this is where, we fall back on the science and the research. And the answer is yes. Scientific research has consistently over time demonstrated that going towards a plant-based diet is, in fact, um, a healthier option and promotes well-being. Now, the thing is that you have to look at it as one, again, measuring or looking at your dietary needs for each individual, as well as, you know, when done right, let's just say. And by that, I mean really limiting, uh, especially ultra processed foods. But you're eating a balanced meal, right? You're consuming a lot of fiber, which promotes a healthy gut, as well as vitamins, antioxidants that'll promote immunity, right? Help you fight infections, help you maintain clearer or younger looking skin, actually. And then, of course, eating protein, right? And by that, I mean not only vegetable based proteins, so in like legumes and beans, but even animal protein, right? There are certain elements in animal protein that our bodies need. And when consumed with moderation, it's what allows us to live a healthier lifestyle. So I think, you know, another topic for another day, but it's looking at some of the foods that are considered functional foods. And I think recently talked about good old cinnamon, right? That you can pretty much enjoy with just about anything. Um, so some people or friends or anyone that's considered a plant-based diet is, do you have to go all in? Like, is it all or nothing? And, you know, do I need to go 100% plant-based to see any benefits? And from my perspective, the answer is no, right? There is no, I would say, there is no particular measurement. The way I like to phrase it is, every small step that you take is a small step for the better good. So if we look at when we invest in a savings account or your 401k, you know, over time, your money, you know, gets compounded interest. And so every year it grows a little bit more, right? It grows based on uh, the interest rate that you have. So I look at it the same way with food and in terms of plant based eating. So let's just say, for example, right now, half of your diet is ultra processed foods, and the other half is between a mix of between whole foods and meat, or just, let's just say meat. So let's just say over the year, of course of a year, you know, you find ways to decrease your ultra processed consumption by 10% a month. And then by the end of the year, who knows, maybe you're down to 25%. And you've also decreased your animal consumption by 10%. Everything that you have not consumed is only for the better good. That is your compound interest, let's just say. Over time, you are consuming less of a bad thing. And so it takes time, going plant-based eating. It's a lifestyle. It's something that you can't just turn on overnight and expect to see results tomorrow. I go back to, hey, it's been 3 months, and there's definitely been a lot of changes in me. I do feel more energized, able to move around quite a bit. Just overall feel very positive, which has been which was a bit of a struggle prior to my surgeries, and specifically over the summer. I mean, over the summer after I got my neck surgery, it eliminated some of the chronic issues I was having from the neck, but I was still dealing with a lot of the inflammation that was attributed to my lower back. And so I think as you look at it is, should you decide to take this lifestyle, which I highly encourage those to really look at ways to just live a more positive outlook, more positive lifestyle. You know, think of your overall well-being. And I know right now with the holidays, sugar and eating excessively is it's in the cards, right? There's no way around it. No matter what, chocolate is around, sugar is around, very rich, indulgent foods. And hey, it's by all means, if that's what's there to enjoy with the people around you, by all means do. After that, it's really up to you on how do you want to, address the meals going forward. So I think another one, this one was kind of interesting. I guess it's just because I don't pay as much attention to it, but one was regarding carbs, right? And I know there is a lot of diets out there about going low carb diet, keto diet, I don't know, whole 30. I can't even recall how many different things you see these days. So I guess the question is, plant-based foods, aren't they high in carbs? And with that being said, isn't that a bad thing for you? And the answer is yes and no. So yes, you will consume carbs. However, you need to understand that you need to conserve the right type of carbs. That being said, not refined carbs, kind of like ultra processed foods. You are looking for items and ingredients that are whole and provide that uh, fuel from carbs. And from that, I'm talking about like oats, quinoa, sweet potato. Those that can give you complex carbohydrates. That is kind of a sustained fuel for longer periods of time, keep you fuller, and you're allowed to burn that energy at a more consistent level. One thing that comes to mind right now, since it's the winter season, is for those that have a chimney and use firewood. If you get that light firewood that's like corky and doesn't weigh anything, and you compare it to a more dense wood that weighs quite a bit, when you light them both, the cork type firewood is going to burn incredibly fast, and then you need more, or your fire dies. And if you have thicker, more dense seasoned firewood, it's going to burn for a longer period of time. So that's how I guess I could compare a refined carbohydrate versus a complex carbohydrate. The refined carbohydrates come from a lot of sugar. We look at sugary drinks, candy, white flours, and so definitely keep that in mind. Um, and then I think one thing that I know, I believe we talked about before, or it came up in an earlier conversation at some point, is eating plant-based or eating healthy, as some would put it, expensive? And that's a loaded question because expensive is subjective to each individual, right? Let's just say what I view as $1 here in the Bay Area uh, may not be as significant as somebody that lives in a mid part of the country where $1 can go for more. So there's those pieces, right? It's depending on where you live, is what your money can buy. So that's one. The other thing is that there is a lot of ingredients that are key staples for plant-based meals that are budget friendly. And think of those as your beans, your grains, your lentils, uh, you know, oats, many items that you can buy in bulk, which tend to be cheaper, and you're able to store for a lot longer. And then look at for like seasonal vegetables, right? There's vegetables that are in season, particularly if you have a farmer's market nearby, tend to be a lot cheaper or more budget friendly, believe it or not, than going to your local grocery store. And I think the other thing that I always look at is, like, say, for example, you go to Costco, right? And you buy, I have nothing against Costco, FYI, because there's a lot of stuff that I like from there. But let's just say you go to Costco. Everything comes in huge packs. And for a family of 4, family of 8, family of 10, that makes sense, right? You could buy a 5-pound bag of potatoes for, I don't know, let's just say $10. However, you don't know, one, when those potatoes got harvested or anything. Or let's just say you're a family of 2, family of 3, and you also buy those $10 worth of potatoes. The smaller family is probably not going to consume so many potatoes, and the rest of it's going to go to the garbage. So to worry about waste and not being socially responsible. I think, especially during the holidays, we hear about a lot of individuals not being able to just have a great meal during these times. So I always look at those aspects as well. But then there is some things that are just frankly more expensive. However, one of those things that I feel that are more expensive are items that, one, have a shorter shelf life, and 2, have a shorter season. And shelf life, let's just talk about berries, right? If you buy raspberries, blueberries, blackberries at the market, or even if you buy them at the store, those are some of the items that get moldy right away, regardless of who you buy them for, when you buy them. and when I was running restaurants, it was one of the items that I really did not like to buy because I had to utilize them as fast as possible. Otherwise, I was just losing money by throwing them away. And, one is don't like to waste food, but two is, right, you have business to run at the end of the day. So I think what I look at is always take a look at what options do you have, right? Again, this goes back to making empowered decisions. It's a choice. It's not something that's forced on you. So there may be some items that you feel are in your budget or are worth the value, and there might be others that, yeah, you think they're astronomically expensive. And believe me, I'm there right with you. So I think with that, I'll wrap this up before I continue just ramble on. But I guess the takeaway is that a plant-based diet is a way to promote a healthier lifestyle, a way to heal your body in more ways than one. Even when you're talking about your physical well-being, even your mental well-being. And keep in mind that you don't need to do this from 0 to 100 or overnight. It's small steps. Every step forward is a step in the right direction. It's something that over time continually makes a difference. So I hope this quick Q&A, so to speak, has brought some benefit towards you, and definitely open to trying to make a few more of these in the future outside of our regular podcast episodes. So if this is something that resonates with you, by all means, drop them in the comments, and love to continue the conversation a lot more. So thank you for joining, and happy holidays, and stay well.